Today on Auto Aficionado, we're going to be speaking with Richard Shapiro, owner of Legacy Motor Cars and an avid collector of any cool car that he can find a deal on.
My name is Richard Shapiro. I'm a Canadian customs house broker, active custom brokers. I'm a car lover, a car collector, and a fanatic. My first love was for American cars because my mother had a 1960s Sunliner convertible, which was black with turquoise interior. It was exciting with beautiful fins and beautiful body lines. I used to sit in the car and make the top go up and down. I'd love that. I'd love long drives. My passion for cars grew more and more. I helped build a race car with a friend. My first car that I fell in love with was a 1967 Morgan. I was 16 at the time. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful car, and hence I now own a Morgan, or two.
Richard would tell you that his childhood dreams were filled with fast cars and gasoline. When he could finally afford it, he bought himself a bright yellow 1964 Triumph TR4 IRS.
As life moved on, I moved into more serious cars. I lived in England and saw all the beautiful English classics, which at that period of time were very, very affordable, and I regret that I didn't buy them. An AC Cobra today, which is worth over $1 million, could be bought for 10,000 pounds in those days, but at the same time you could buy a Spitfire military aircraft for that same amount. However, I was only making 1,600 British pounds a year, so everything was proportional. The Morgans have a place in my heart, A, because they're English, also B, because they're actually a handmade car that still exists today. It's owned by the Morgan family, and it's the oldest British family-owned company in existence. They started in 1909, where they built a three-wheeler car, and then they moved to four-wheeler cars. These two cars here, which are the only ones in Canada, were the attempt by Morgan to enter Le Mans. So these were Le Mans built with aluminum frames and engines that were usually taken from the Range Rover. At that period of time being 2001 and 2002, Range Rover was controlled by BMW, so these are 4.3 liter, 326 horsepower engines, which go from 0 to 60 in 4.2. They weren't successful in Le Mans, but they certainly looked good. These cars are no longer being built. As an 8-cylinder, Morgan is now only doing a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder. However, it has been a darling of the Morgans for years, and all the collectors love this car, especially the Series 1, because the headlights actually look like they're pigeon-toed on the automobile. And it was the true tradition of what the Morgans were. The Morgans are hand-built. There's approximately 60 made per year, and now it's no longer being made by the company. I had a personal affinity to it. I had Morgans before. When the Ferrari market blew up, I owed a lot of people a lot of money, and I made a promise that I would pay everybody, because during the time that I could make a lot of money on an Aston Martin or a Jaguar, I felt that they shouldn't suffer from it. So I sold off my first collection, which today I regret, with the Aston Martin DB6 Vantages and the Maserati 3500s and the Indies and the Ghiblis. It was painful, but at least I know that I did the right thing and everybody got paid.
In the late 90s, Richard began to rebuild his collection one by one, searching out cars that reminded him of his youth and cars that he admired.
Over the years, I've now rebuilt it with a variety of cars from exotic and Lamborghini line to almost silly with British cabs. As my wife asked me why, and I said, well, it's a British cab and it's a left-hand driver and there's only 250 in the world. And the other thing was that I bought it very, very cheaply, so that was part of the fun in itself. I have a varied collection. There's not one car I specifically like. I really, in fact, like them all. My tendency is for British cars, Italian cars, and American classics. I'm old enough to remember the introduction of the Mustang, and the Mustang was a revolutionary automobile. Prior to that period of time, you really only had the Corvette, and you had the Thunderbird. But the Mustang was revolutionary to the world of pony cars and eventually muscle cars. So I had a love for Mustangs, and as time went on, I collected Mustangs, and now I have 4 of them. Each one, in my mind, has a little bit of importance historically. I have 2 cars which are called California Specials, only built in 1968. Out of the 153,000 coupes that were built, they only made 4,118 that were done in the style of the Shelby convertible and the Shelby fastback. This is when Carroll Shelby was working in conjunction with Ford, and after the success of the AC Cobra. The 2 cars that I do have, the yellow one and the blue one, the blue one is one of 88 made, and the yellow one is one of 2 that are made with the configurations. They would come with a variety of engines. They would come with the famous tail on the back and what was in fact the Thunderbird tail lights put onto the back with side scoops on the car to be given to the Californians because they wanted a special car. There actually was a Shelby made that was a coupe that is owned by Barrett Jackson. It has been restored and it's worth millions and millions of dollars. These are not that way, but these are beautiful cars and I love them. Also in the collection is a 1969 GT350. That's the last production year of the Shelby GT350. They made fewer of the 350s than they did the 500s. Again, it's an investment piece. The last car is a tribute because the other 3 cars were so beautiful and so restored that I felt badly that I'd be driving them. So one of the people I bought a car from says, I have a GT500 tribute car with a 427 side oiler, producing over 400 horsepower. Richard, it is a very, very close replica, and I can give you a special price. And I'm always looking for that deal. I used to laugh because I have a saying that I never buy a Camel for $29, but 2 for $30, I bet you I'd buy them. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the Camel, but I bought the deal. I have for fun a 64 Corvair, white with red interior convertible, the little boxy car. And I have 2 Pontiac GTOs, 1967, one in full restoration. And again, another one that's just being put together so I can drive it and enjoy the car, because that's what the cars are made for. I had collected a lot of cars, and I had a lot of cars that were restored. And I had them in different places, and I had them at different dealerships. I had them at the Maserati dealership. I had them at the original Lamborghini dealership. At times, I'd also be kind of hiding those cars. You know, not the best thing, but as I said to my wife, it's really the only thing that I've done wrong in our relationship. And there's far worse things to do, and cars aren't the worst. And she came from a car family. So I had all these cars, and what had happened was I had them put them into storage, and I could not enjoy them, and it was too much problem to get them in and out. The opportunity came with Legacy Motor Cars that he advertised that he'd like to sell the company, and it made a perfect fit that the establishment, being 10,000 square feet, could hold all my cars and at the same time sell used cars. So I'm, in fact, supplementing what my storage costs would be. I call it a passion for cars. Sometimes my wife would call that a sickness, because if it was a beautiful car and if it was a good price, I would be buying that car. I've looked at my passion and explained to my wife that it's not only a passion, but it's also an investment. I could put my money in the bank and get 1.5%, or I could make between 10 and 40% per year on an automobile. And in that way, I think my wife accepts what I'm telling her and allowing me to have what I have.
For more episodes of Auto Aficionado, make sure to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments. Until next time, stay tuned.